Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to Sisterhood Check-in. I am your author and coach, Nadira Lewis. Thank you for watching us tonight. I'm excited. We have a full show this evening, and so I'm excited to be able to have my guest here today, Tiquisha Noufe. And she is I'm going to actually read her bio, and then after her bio, I'm going to go ahead and show a little bit of her commercial to show the type of work that she does. Usually I come in and I kind of give an encouraging word and kind of share with you some of the things that I've gone through this week. But because we have such a full show, and I really want to make sure that we maximize the time that we have today with her, I want to go ahead and start by reading her bio and telling you a little bit about who she is. Besides a dear friend to me, God had placed her in my life at a very pivotal time in life. So I'm really grateful to be able to have her here with us on Sisterhood Check-in. But before we introduce her, I want you to know that Tiquisha is a regional vice president with Primerica Financial Services, which is a Fortune 1000 company on the New York Stock Exchange. Tiquisha is more than just a financial coach. She's a transformation coach. She focuses on helping people transition from trauma to triumph financially, spiritually, emotionally, and relationally. Her daily mission is to teach people how money works so that they can make more informed decisions about protecting and growing their income. She also focuses on building wealth and leaving a legacy. Tiquisha was born in Fort Wayne, Indiana, where she grew up in a single-parent home and was forced to navigate through pockets of trauma beginning at a very young age. She was determined to beat the odds, and so she managed to excel academically and landed the opportunity to attend a HBCU school, Kentucky State University, and she completed her associate's degree in computer science while attending KSU. And she discovered that she had a gift for writing and speaking. She then relocated to Indianapolis, Indiana, where she explored and blossomed as a household name in the spoken word poetry community. Her gift of creative performance awarded her amazing opportunities to travel the world as a paid spoken word artist. She shared the stage with many celebrities, and as her career extended, tragedy hit her family. Her grandfather was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and that was a very pivotal point in her life. And she was the oldest granddaughter and had the responsibility of handling the personal affairs and financial expenses for her grandfather. And how many of us can understand that when sometimes are put in a position, whether voluntarily or, by no choice, where you have to take on financial responsibilities or even household responsibilities when another parent is not able to. Tiquisha researched insurance companies and products, as well as studied the legalities, and partner with Primerica to master the ins and outs of the insurance industry with hopes to prevent what happened to her grandfather from happening to others. Simultaneous to getting her license in financial services, she went back to school at Indiana Institute of Technology and obtained her Bachelor of Science degree in organizational leadership, and now sits on the board of directors for the university's Alumni Association. Tiquisha has also been appointed as a member of the following elite groups in Primerica: the Financial Independence Council, the African American Leadership Council, member of the Senior Leadership Council, and the board member of Women in Primerica. Tiquisha is now married to her amazing husband, Roland Noufe. Her journey and experiences compelled her to start her own coaching agency, Tiquisha Monet Global, Inc., where she currently serves as CEO in full-time partnership with her independent broker role as regional vice president for Primerica Financial Services. So I'm going to go ahead and play this quick video real quick, and then we are going to bring the next voice you will hear is Tiquisha Noufe.
Good morning, Tiquisha.
Good morning.
How are you doing? Super fantastic. Wonderful. Today is your brand day. What is the day today? Today is December 7th, 2019. December 7th, 2019. The day your brand was born. Tell me about Tiquisha. I never seen it coming. The hard life that ahead of me. Rejected many times, angry because you're ahead of me. I can't remember much of what it was that mama said to me because it wasn't much. She put me out when I was 16. Now how was I supposed to make it with no parents to take care of me? But in my heart I knew I could, because in my heart the freedom dreams. Now is this how true freedom rings? Children stuck, raising themselves. But what about the dreams I had? The dreams deferred by someone else. See, I know I got the power to be anything I want to be. Show me the exit door from hell, the entrance to my destiny. I know I got the power to be anything I want to be. Show me the exit door from hell, the entrance to my destiny. I am Tiquisha Monique, transformation coach. I help people who've experienced trauma recognize the trauma, recover from it, and restore so that their past will not dictate their future. I've gained my authority because of my own personal experience with trauma. I have been transformed so far from trauma with my relationships, faith, friendships, and my finances. So we love community. A lot of times we feel isolated and alone. I want to connect with you. You can connect with me if you're experiencing trauma or someone in your community is. At I am Tiquisha Monique on Instagram. Thank you. Looking forward to working with you soon.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you first time ever here at Sisterhood Check-in, my guest, Tiquisha Noufe. Hey!
Hey, girl. How are you, Nadira?
I'm wonderful now that you're here.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I don't like looking at myself on videos, okay? I'm like, that was not, okay, we did not approve that. I need to take that off my website.
I thought it was actually nice. You look amazing because you're a transformation coach. So
I know, right?
You people get to see your before and your after. It's always easier and much, we always feel more comfortable showing the right now, the transformed us. But when people see the old us and then they look, well, man, they start to kind of look at themselves and be like, okay, there's potential. If she can do it, if she can transform her life, so can I. And you haven't done that. Tiquisha, I want to take some time for our audience to get to know you. So take the time. And as I told you before, when we were talking on the phone, I like to dialogue. It's more of a dialogue than an interview, because I want people to see us. I think it's great when we have conversations about our life and about the things that go on in our personal life and in our business lives, so that people don't see us as just somebody who feel like we know it all. Our experiences shape us. And the things that we learned, we've taken time to invest in our personal growth. So, this space is a comfort zone. It's a safe zone. So this is an opportunity for us to kind of sit and dialogue and talk about all the wonderful things that God has done in your life. So take some time and share with my audience who Tiquisha Noufe really is.
I am God's favorite daughter. That is who I am. That's what I believe. I've believed it for a very long time. I believe that I am God's favorite daughter. To sum it all up, that is just my truth, right?
Yes,
I am an extraordinary woman, that I had to embrace that, I didn't grow up with the silver spoon in my hand, but I did grow up with love, right? I did get to witness trauma though in that. And then you just kind of normalize it. You kind of normalize that. You're like, okay, well, this is the language that I know. I'm sorry, you guys. These are just bother. I'm trying to keep them on so I can see. I left my other ones upstairs. I'm just not getting it here. You try to normalize. You kind of normalize what is really not healthy growing up, and then that becomes like a way of life and a way of acceptance until I grew, got outside of where I grew up, where is Fort Wayne, Indiana, is where I was born and raised. And then I ended up going to college at Kentucky State University and forming different relationships and just noticing that, life is a little different. Everybody don't do life like I did. My family is, like I said, is a very loving family, very content, with life. Wasn't really striving for a whole lot more, but that was just pretty much it. Not that they didn't have dreams and goals. I just didn't see them really fight for them. You see what I'm saying? And then because I've always been a dreamer since a little girl, I've always thought, there's got to be something more. And I never knew exactly what I wanted to be when I grew up. I just knew exactly what I didn't want and who I didn't want to be. And I worked very hard the opposite direction, trying to find out what my purpose was in life, who I am in life, and what would I spend the days of my life doing? What would that look like? And so I kind of tried so many different things and uncovered so many different gifts. And I just realized that my gift is people, people, helping people, serving people. And that is where I get the greatest fulfillment. And so it's like, okay, I am a servant leader. I am a servant leader. Now, the platform may change, but that is who I am when I am doing, right? Am I being? I'm just, I don't know. I'm a fun girl. I like to have a good time. I like to enjoy life and laugh. I love to dance, but in the core of who I am, I love to see people well. I like to go above and beyond to make sure that people are advancing in life if they desire to.
Yes.
So that's me in a nutshell.
And you've been very strategic at helping people, and you've been very strategic in my life. And God positioned you in my life at a very strategic time. It's funny because we met at an event. We were like, we're both people that love to mingle and meet new people, and we met each other at I think it was some sort of like
it was Douglas. I remember today. I remember because I came up to your baby. She was so pretty. I'm like, oh, she looks like a bottle of joy. He's like, that's her name, Bella Joy. I'm like, yes. But we were at the Douglasville community police. The police department does a community event every year in Douglasville. That was my first time out there. I was just Googling places to go, and that's where we met. Yep.
Yeah. And I actually lived in Douglasville. So that was like really convenient. I was really promoting my skincare line at the time. And it was just divine. I believe that, people are in your life for a reason, season, or a lifetime. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity that he has given us to get to know each other. So you started to really kind of talk to me about financial education. And I had known a little bit about Primerica because I had been a part of Primerica some years prior. You were very persistent at, making sure that I was educated and knew. And then it just so happened that, that my husband died. And then you were right there, not only to see me through that process, but to see the success on the other side of that. So that was a blessing. Talk to us about, before we get to talking about what you do and how you help people bring transformation in their life, talk to us about some of the transformations in your life. I know, I always say to everybody, I love transparency, Great when we talk about the things that are great and the things that happen to us as a result of the things that we've overcome. But talk to us about some of those areas in your life where you weren't Tiquisha Noufe. Talk to us about Tiquisha Hines. Who was Tiquisha Hines and how she got to Tiquisha Noufe?
Well, that is awesome. Tiquisha Hines, like I said, well, to sum it all up, she was a fearless little girl walking in fear simultaneous. And I know that's very oxymoronic to say, but I was not afraid of anything. I was courageous. I will get after it. I was about striving and finding out who I was and conquering things. But at the same time, I was afraid of everything, right? I didn't have the relationships that I desired at the core. My mom was there. She was a hard worker. And see, as a young girl, you really don't understand. My parents were not married, and my mom did everything she possibly could to provide for us comfort, quality of life. But yet I still needed more. I wanted her to talk to me about what my period was. I wanted her to be at everything when she could only be at some things, because she was working 2 and 3 jobs to provide.
Right.
But as a young girl, I was, you deal with not necessarily peer pressure, because no, I was never one that you can pressure. Anything that I did is because I chose to do it. Right.
Got
But I was big in comparison though. See, I knew about God. I was going to church then. My mom went to church sometimes, but she had to work a lot of times. So on Sunday, she worked overtime. So it wasn't like I didn't understand relationship with Christ. I didn't understand the mercy and the grace and his love. I didn't understand that. So I was missing something. There was a void. I needed the nurturing. I needed communication. I needed teaching. I needed teaching of, and mama was teaching me hard work by what she did, but I needed her to sit and talk with me. See, my love language is,
Yes.
affirmations and communications and I don't even know that's one of the love languages, but I like communication, right? Acknowledgement. I needed to hear that. I needed to hear, I'm proud of you. I see you. This is how you do XYZ. And I didn't have that because she was so busy working to provide. So I was lost. I didn't know who I was. I tried all kinds of different things, just trying to find my way. I think I was pretty strong though overall. I suffered in silence a lot. Because I didn't want to be a burden to anyone. My core nature is to care for everyone else, right? And
Yes.
so I suppressed a lot of the things that I was feeling, and I had to deal with them by myself. I had to deal with it by myself. I didn't have an outlet. So then, and like I said, life wasn't horrible because my family was present. We get together with grandma and them. We go to all the holiday events. We get to travel and go with family and all. But there was still a missing void. I saw some of my cousins that had healthier relationships that seem healthier, and then I had girlfriends in school with me that they had the mom and girl, mom and daughter days and things like that I desired and I yearned for all of my life until a few years before my mom died. So God is good in that too. That's a whole nother story and testimony. But I was just, I was solid. And then on the other side, I had my grandmother on my father's side who's very tough. So I had, I'm trying to manage my being a young lady, trying to grow and being true to my feelings and my emotions, that I am really sad that I don't have, my daddy constant in my life because he was in and out doing his life, right? And then that mama's always gone because she's at work. And then grandmas, they busy with everybody else. They got all the other grandkids and their own in their lives. And I'm here and people are present, but I was really crying in silence, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And
Definitely.
so I discovered how to get it out through writing. So I still suppressed it, but I was able to share my pain and my story, but it wasn't still, to me, it wasn't from the truest place of myself because I had to mask it in entertainment. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So now I'm telling what I'm telling what I'm feeling, but I'm doing it theatrically, and people are coming to see me perform. But this is my life. This ain't really, And that was a season that helped me heal, and that was just the way that I expressed it. But I still did not have closure, and I still didn't have the opportunity until years later. I'm talking about I had relocated to Atlanta. I've been here for a decade now, which was a God thing. God brought me here. I was on my way to DC. So I lived 7 years in Indianapolis, Indiana, where I was really prominent in spoken word and poetry. And that was pretty much the heartbeat of my life at that time, because that's where I found my solace. I was single. I always wondered, I wanted to get married, but then I had a season where I didn't even want that. The truth is I didn't want to be vulnerable for hurt and pain. I didn't want to be vulnerable enough to let somebody in to abandon me again or to reject me again. Why? Because I needed my daddy there more. And I wanted my mama there more, even though she was always there, but I needed her there on another level. And because I couldn't trust that, or I didn't have that, I couldn't trust a girlfriend or a boyfriend. Does that make sense?
Yes,
So I didn't know how to usher strong, healthy girlfriends relationships either. I mean, I was good. I was the social butterfly, but when the lights were out, I was by myself trying to figure out, how am I going to migrate through this life What am I supposed to be doing with my life? And just really not as happy as I appear to be on the outside. And nobody would have ever known.
Wow.
Right. So what changed is when I was living in Indianapolis, I joined the church called Light of the World Christian Church. And it's so funny how I got there. I was actually invited to a friend of mine's church who played in the band, and he invited me to his church, him and his family's church. And my car caught a flat tire in front of Light of the World Christian Church. At the time, I didn't know where it was. It was a big old white building sitting on the hill. And it was cold outside because it was in Indiana. And it was all these men dressed in black and they had headphones on. See, I grew up in very small churches. They weren't doing no fancy stuff. They weren't pulling up in Escalades. You know what I'm saying? Everybody knew everybody. It was about 10, 20 people in the church. And no microphones. You could just scream and holler from the front to the back of the pulpit. That's how I grew up. So I pulled up in this church. I thought maybe it was I knew it wasn't the White House because we're in Indianapolis. I'm like, well, maybe it's just the Capitol building because it was huge. And so here I am, this little frail little girl. I was in my early 20s. And I'm like, my car done broke down. It's Sunday. I'm trying to get to church. It's cold. These guys came down the hill and they was like, man, we're going to help you. I'm scared, but they didn't seem threatening, right? Because they were, and they said, no, we're gonna get your car fixed. So they drove me up to the church. They said, well, this is church service is about to start. So why don't you go on into church while we, try to figure out what's wrong with your car? And I said, okay. So I walked into the church building, and when I tell you it was lit up, it was huge, and everybody was happy, and they was like, welcome to Light of the World, da, da, da. And then I felt like, it seems dramatic, but this is really what's happening. I felt like I was walking into a movie or something because they made me feel so welcome. And I don't think that was the first time I ever been greeted like you belong here, right? And my soul felt something. When I tell you that usher took me to the front of that church. This church was big. They had a balcony and everything. I ain't never known a church to have a balcony where I come from. You know what I'm saying? That's like, and they put me in the front row of the church. And Bishop Garrett, and he still checks on me today. I still follow him today. He looked me in my face and he said, after today, your life will never be the same. I don't know what overcame me. I was by myself, didn't know anyone, obviously. But my life changed that day. I saw he was preaching the grace of Jesus in a way that I never heard. I used to go to church and I will leave sometimes feeling worse than I did going because they always talk about, the sin and you won't repent, you're going to hell. And, it's just like, come on, man. We grew up in sin, so I didn't think you could even be healed from it. So we all just gonna go to hell. Why am I going to church for? Like, that's how I felt. Then nobody was telling you, they would not give you any tools to help you overcome the things that you were dealing with. So I'm like, okay, I don't even understand this. And so back up a little bit, right before that day happened where I got stuck at that church and walked into Light of the World, I had friends that used to study Islam. I had friends that were Jehovah's Witnesses. I went to the Kingdom Hall. I went to the mosque. I was really trying to understand, why do I believe what I believe? And it was until that day when I sat on the front pew of Light of the World Christian Church and Bishop looked at me and said, your life will never be the same. Something overcame me. And he was talking about the grace of God. That changed my life. And it made me want to know that God. I'm like, these people are happy. They like genuinely are happy. I wasn't used to seeing that in church where I'm from, right? You heard people gossiping all the time, talking about each other, It wasn't that. It was so gloomy, but I was like, wow, it made me come back again. And then, the next week I came back. Well, they had like the visitors thing. You go back, and I had never joined or participated. And I used to sing in a choir when I was younger, but that next day or next week I came, I was in class to be an usher. I'm like, what? At the first, do you know I never visited the church that I got invited to? I was at that church my whole time in Indianapolis, and it grew me. And the bishop gave me an opportunity he saw a gift in me, my speaking, and allowed me to start a ministry or lead the ministry for young people in writing. But I had a place that I started as an usher. I started going to Bible study. I wanted to be at that church every day, the doors open. And I had never had that. And that's where everything began to turn for me from a transformation standpoint. I started to gain understanding that I had never understood before. I got a knowledge base about God and his word and his goodness and his forgiveness and his love that I had never been taught. And it made me thirsty for him. So I went through a season where I was immersed in learning about the love of God. So that's where it began for me. And I'll stop there, from the transformation to me walking with God. Of course, there was struggle still, but I'll stop there.
Wow. And then in our show, you don't have to feel compelled with time or anything like that, because here on Sisterhood Check-in, I make sure that we have the liberty. And I feel like, and I always say, for those that desire to be here, because, and I do it at night specifically because I know that this is at the time frame where a lot of people deal with a lot of transformation, a lot of things that go through their mind and their heart, a lot of things they're concerned about. So I don't really necessarily set a time for Sisterhood Check-in. So don't feel like if you feel like, as you're sharing, don't feel compelled to be like, oh, I got to do anything like that, except for when we go to commercial break, we got to show commercial. But other than that, I did it that way. And I did the show in more of a dialogue perspective so that I can be able to, so that we can have conversations, because the conversations that I remember being at a point in my life where after the kids are in the bed, you put the kids to bed, and at nighttime, that's when my mind would always be going. That's when I would always be dealing with a lot of the things, because while everybody's asleep, that I'm still up.
Yeah.
I'm through my problems, and the things that I dealt with didn't go away because the kids were in the bed. I started to feel like, oh my gosh, I just wish this and I wish that. So do it at 6 o'clock at night, because you have shows at 10. Well, you got Sisterhood Check-in at 10. So please don't feel compelled to, if you feel like there's something that you want to share and you get in that mode, because as I don't know if you've watched our broadcast before, but sometimes we can go 2 hours because the conversation can be so intense. And I always say, whoever's meant to be here is meant to be here. And those that can't, they can watch the replay, when they wake up. The point is to make myself available and to make and provide and be a resource to people that are watching. I bring people here so that they can share their testimonial and show us, take us step by step on how to get through different mindsets, how to transition through different thought processes. Because believe it or not, Tiquisha, a lot of people are stuck.
Oh yeah.
They don't always verbalize that they're stuck. They don't always say, this is where I'm at. Sometimes not everybody feel comfortable to share what they go through. Some people suffer alone. Yep. Because of the things that they go through. And so so I look at it as, be as transparent as you must, as you see fit. And because we think that transformation in other people's life, and the Bible says that that we're supposed to be witnesses. Well, one of the ways, when you think about what a witness is a person that has seen something. So sometimes the things that we go through in our life, we get to experience God's goodness. We experience God's grace. We experience the goodness of God. It's funny because I made a post today and I was listening to that song by Jonathan, what's his name?
McReynolds.
Yeah. And talking about how God is good. Sometimes we take for granted that God is good.
Yep.
And to me, that's going to mean something different for me than it is for you, because to me, I might just be grateful of the fact that I just was able to feed my kids that day. Somebody else might be grateful that they were able to get their car started and God gave them favor on the road and they didn't have an accident while they was on their way to work. His grace, we just take for granted the goodness of God. When the Bible says the goodness of God that leads men to repentance, it's not all this other stuff that we think that leads people to Christ. It's not it's not how we look. It's not, even though we might be compelled and we might be drawn in by different things. It is the goodness of God. It is his grace. It is his mercy. And once we are aware of that, it changes us all in different ways, And But I want to talk more about your transformation, and I want to talk about, because I know you've experienced some losses. I know you lost your mom, and I want to talk about that. What that was, Mother's Day is coming up, and I know that it's got to be a really difficult time for you. And a lot of people that are watching have lost their mom.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Sharonda, my best friend, she lost her mother and her stepmother, you know, within a short period of time. There's other people that I know that have lost their mom. So Mother's Day, just the fact, just thinking about Mother's Day coming up, people tend to get overwhelmed. I have another cousin and that lost her mom. And every time that it gets this time of year, it's for her. So I
Mm-hmm.
want you to talk about that in the next after this commercial, and just kind of encourage some of the women. Talk about your experiences and tell, and just encourage some of the women that may have lost their mom, and just help them get through this process, because I know this has got to be hard. But we'll be right back, and I am here with my guest, transformational coach Tiquisha Noufe. We'll be right back after this. And we are back with my special guest, Tiquisha Noufe. For those of you that have just joined us, you have missed the first part. Tiquisha was talking about her life and her transformation and what she's gone through, how she went from being in one position in life to now becoming a transformational coach. And she's going to share with us in this next segment about some of the experiences that she's had when it comes to losing her mom. So Tiquisha, I want you to go right into it, and I want you to really just talk from your heart and take us back to that moment when you found out that your mom had left to go be with the Lord.
Well, it was a shocker, obviously. And like I said, and I had to go back to this. If you are not walking with God, I don't know how you making it in this world. Um, because God is so good, and we were able to have a really good relationship and good time the 2 years prior to her leaving, where God reconciled and collapsed that time that I felt like I lost, that I needed my mommy, where I wanted to talk to her and have the girl try times. Um, it was a shock because she wasn't ill. She wasn't ill. She wasn't on any medication. And it came very unexpected. But because I understand that we all have a day, then it didn't impact me in the way that I thought it should have. It didn't take me all the way out. Do I miss my mom? Absolutely. What I miss more is the things that I wanted, so much more that I wanted to do with her and for her. But because I know what God says in his word about life and about, how I don't know how to even give it words, because I can't give words to how I feel. I just don't feel the dark grief that most people feel when they lose, because of my relationship with Christ and the way he comforts my soul, and that we understand that at the end of the day, she belonged to him anyways, and I belong to him as well. And I understand some of the things that my mother was dealing with. And I just believe that she is a lot happier where she is. And so it's always tough. And everybody, it's not going to be the same, and it's not going to impact folks the same, because everybody have a different relationship with their parents or with their mother. So I had to continue to live for her. So because those couple years before my mom passed away, there were some things that she was able to share with me that she wanted to do. It just really gave me a different sense of urgency for getting things done. My mom was writing in a journal that she had just started writing in 2017 about purpose and trying to find her purpose. And she was praying every night, Lord, show me my purpose. So when my mom left suddenly, it just showed me that you ain't got no more time to play with this thing. Because there's going to be a day that is going to be the end for you. So you don't have time to waste. So it gave me a new sense of urgency to get after the things that God has called me to do, to be able to bless the people that I'm assigned to bless, and to, do all that I can while I have time, which
Yeah.
is basically spread. Go ahead.
No, I'm listening to you. No, I'm just agreeing with
Which is basically, spread his goodness, his that's it, to win souls for him, right, and help people. So I always say to people, and this is what my mom used to tell me too. She used to say, God, every time I talk to you, you talking about Jesus and Primerica. And that's what I feel. I feel like if you don't have your soul insured with your salvation right with Jesus Christ, or that's who I believe in, and you don't have yourself life insurance,
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
and you don't have life insurance, then we need to talk, okay? Because I can usher you there and usher you there too. But I just think about the moments before she left, the year before she left, all the things that she told me to do without letting me know that verbally, I'm proud of you. She was saying, I need you to get this done. I believe you can get this done. So it's because God is so good that He allowed me to spend that time with my mom, where I was getting ready to buy a house. I was trying to move her here to Atlanta. We were trying to get, there were some things going on with my family, my nieces and nephews, and I was trying to help her with that. She wanted to go to Maui. I was blessed to be able to take her on her dream trip to Maui the year before she passed. And we were getting ready to buy her a home. And it's because I remember those moments. And I'm like, God, you were so good that you allowed me to experience that. And then when my mom would call me and say, I need you to get this house, and she would dream about this house, the house that she wanted, and not saying that I'm proud of you, but she was telling me, I know you can do it. Like, I want you to do this. So I move on that. You know what? She was proud, and she got to see me fight and get to a place where I can do some things for her, and I got to do more. Now I got to get after it even more, because I'm getting ready to build a family. That's before I met my husband. And then I was thinking about my grandmothers that are still here. And so I just we can't stop life. You got to let the dead bury the dead. And I ain't trying to say that in an insensitive way. We got to continue doing what we are called to do here in the earth while we still have time. And so when I get sad about my mama, and I just pray, cry, and go. When I think of her, I let the tears fall. I don't suppress what I'm feeling. I be in that moment. I take my moments. I miss her. I go through my phone and I look at the videos probably a million times, so I can hear her voice and hear her laugh again. And I just hold on to those memories, and I get up and I say, I got to get after it. Why? Because I still have two beautiful grandmothers alive. And there's so many things that I want to do for them. And I haven't done it all yet. I haven't built it like I want to yet, but I do it for her in memory of her, because she worked so hard. And I don't think she feels like she was able to leave what she would want to leave, but she bust her butt trying to make sure that we had everything that we had, that we could have. And so I don't know. That's, I just deal with it in a positive way. Yeah. That's my beautiful mama. That was my little baby, because I was the boss. I was like, was my little baby for real. Because she'd be like, you think you the boss of me? Because she was so little. She's shorter than you, Nadira.
Really?
Yes, my mom was short. She about 4'11".
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was, yeah. So I just Yeah, I miss her. I miss her. And it was so much more that I was getting excited about doing with her and doing for her. But now I do it for her. I do it for her. So,
Yeah.
and then also her life taught me some things not to do, right? Because she was so strong that she did not reach out for help. That might have, I'm not taking God's place. I believe when he's ready for us, he's ready. But I just know that had she said that she needed help sooner, maybe, I don't know. I just feel that in my heart that maybe she might have still been around. That's just what I feel in my heart. But yeah.
You're really strong, because when I think about, I'm grateful I haven't, gotten to that place where I've lost my mom yet. But when I hear other people that talk about when they're losing their mom, even as believers, and we know that the Bible says we don't grieve as others who don't have any hope. Do you think that because you had a lot of other things that going on to keep you focused, that it made it a lot easier for you to get over your mom? Because I think sometimes when you have distractions there, to kind of help you, it kind of helps the process, with
That's a
getting
good
through
point.
the grief. Because when I
That's
think
a
about
really no,
when I think about when you're losing a parent, it's different. It's still a loss, but it's a different type of loss.
mhm.
And I realize in my own personal grief that if you don't do things to keep yourself going, if you don't get allowed things, now people were always afraid of, my mom especially was worried about me not grieving, not being, are you sure you're grieving? Because I don't see you doing this and I don't see you doing that. But I had my moments when everybody was not around, because I didn't want my grieving to be a show. I didn't want an audience for my
Mhm.
grieving. I
Mhm.
felt like my grief was personal, it was sacred. And so I felt like those moments that I was home in the bed crying, that was my sacred moment to really cry without, not that I didn't want anybody to console me, because people, they have right intentions, sometimes they want to console you, but to me it was a sacred moment for me to remember the memories, the
Mhm.
good memories, and be able to embrace it and be free to be able to cry it out with the snot and everything else, and not have to apologize
Mhm.
for being in a position to where you feel hopeless, even though you're not hopeless, but to be okay with feeling that way, to be
Yeah.
okay with not understanding the sovereignty of God, to not, because sometimes it's one thing when you can prepare for your parent to exit and you've done all the, I still think even in preparing, you're still never really prepared.
Oh
You know?
no. Right.
But when it happens, it was more so of, I didn't have time. Then I started to go back and look at all the things that I wish I should have done, even though we've had a great marriage, but there's still moments. I felt like those times when I was grieving alone, I felt like it was sacred. So I started to create different distractions to help me through it, because I realized grief can take you if you allow it, it can take you in a really dark place, believer or not. If you allow it, it will consume you. And literally, I saw, even in my and I wasn't upset at God. I wasn't, I knew that, I knew intellectually that God had a plan, and that if he allowed this to happen, then, I knew I had no choice but to be in agreement with it. Where I suffered, and when I talked about it in the previous broadcast, is understanding the sovereignty of God. Because I didn't understand his sovereignty, it made me question everything that I thought I knew about God. Didn't mean that I didn't feel like I knew God, but it made me question what I did know, because the Bible says that his thoughts are not our thoughts, his ways are not our ways.
Yes.
And I've really grabbed an understanding of that, because I realized that though we plan and we plan our lives and we expect that we're going to live forever and this is how it's going to be, when things happen outside of our control or it happens unexpectedly, you go through a moment to where, and I realized that I was strong in a lot of areas of my life, but I felt like that moment was my opportunity to not, I didn't feel like I had to be strong for that, but I knew that God was an ever present help. I
Yeah.
knew that he was an ever-present help, and so that helped me. But it didn't take away the grieving process that I went through, because there is a process. You go through anger, you go through through frustration. It's almost like you feel schizophrenic, because you feel like I'm good. Everybody was like, "You're good, yeah, I'm good, I'm good," and then all of a sudden you're like, feeling like you're about to lose it. And then you get to a point once you go through those processes, it's different for everybody. You know, some people can
That's
grieve.
No, go ahead. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. What I'm grateful for, because you hit it on the head right before you got to going. Community. You was like, was there some things that you have? God didn't allow distractions, because when God is so divine, and He's so strategic that it was all planned. See, when I moved to Atlanta, which was His thing, it prepped me for the day that I would lose my mom, because He put me in community where I had a group of women around me that I didn't have growing up, that were praying for me. I'm in ministry with the Hearts of Beauty ministry, and my sisters, when I tell you, they didn't allow me those moments. I have a few of them that just know me, and some of them would just come to my place and sit there and not say anything, but just to remind me that you are not alone. And that helped me tremendously get through it, because I don't know if I would have had I not had the right community. And they're so mature in God, mature in their relationship with God, that they knew not to say certain things. And like you said, people have good intention when you should be doing this. You can't tell anybody how they're going to grieve. I don't believe that you ever stop.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It doesn't look like because God is such a creative God. It doesn't look like the next person's grief.
Absolutely.
I still have my moments of grief, but it doesn't, just because you're grieving don't mean that you are snotting all the time and you falling out and you're pulling your hair out and you're depressed and you're that doesn't define grief. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's different.
But I believe that community, the right community of people around you in your life, not just when you're having loss, but just in life daily, period. Okay. It's so key. And I have that. And I wouldn't have had that if I didn't obey God on my way to Atlanta, which is a whole nother story, right? It's a whole nother story how I got here and how I heard God and how it came and how, and then I went through, because I stepped out of obedience. When you step out of obedience, you cause unnecessary havoc. There was times when He wasn't a priority, but I realized when I put God as a priority again, then everything else became sweatless for me. And so I too, so because He was my core, He knew me, He knew what I needed. He prepared me, honey, before that day came. So it made it so easy, because I didn't know. I thought about it before, because I'm in this industry. I paid several death claims, and I've been there for my clients from the beginning to the end, right? And I didn't know, and I always thought, well, when it happens. Now, I had already had my very first close death, which is before my mom, which is my grandfather, who was my heart, my everything, which is why I even got involved with this business after understanding how he had the wrong policy all those years, and not having enough to sufficiently bury him. That was my first real loss, and that hit me like a ton of bricks, I think. But then God prepped me for this one. You know what I'm saying? And so I don't know what else to say about that, but I still think I still am grieving, but I had to grieve emotion, and that's not being insensitive. It's just, God is with me.
Yes.
And He is man, He's a great comforter.
Yes, He's a comforter. Yes, you hit that right on the nail. Talk about, now you recently gotten married to your beautiful husband. I can't, what his first name is,
Roland.
Roland. I was trying to pronounce it. Roland. You and Roland now have been married almost a year now, right? Has it been a year yet?
It's been a year. March 7th made 1 year. Yes, 1 year. Yes.
Wow. Talk about what that was like. How you guys.
My inside joke to myself, as I say, I feel like my mom brought me to him, because my mom died January 14th, 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And I met my husband July 22nd on my grandmother's birthday, my maternal grandmother's birthday, of 2019. And that's a whole nother story about just listening to God and walking with God, because I was minding my business. I had, I had a check that I needed to deposit. No, honestly, I had a check that I needed to deposit, and I've been holding on to it way too long. And the Holy Spirit had been telling me to go open up an account at, this particular bank. And I was already at another bank. And I said, I don't want to go to another bank and open up an account. I have an account over here already. I'm going back and forth with the Holy Spirit. And I was so disobedient that I ended up going anyways to cut to the points in the story. I was disobedient, did not go to the bank that the Lord told me to go to. I went to my bank, got in there, got ready to deposit the check, and my banker said, they're going to put a hold on this. And I'm like, that's fine. I don't need it. He told me to come into his office and told me specifically to go to the bank that God had already told me to go to. Okay.
Wow.
I'm leaving their names out because I'm gonna need me some endorsements if I be talking about these banks. So I'm just keeping it real. But so I go to this particular bank begrudgingly because it's 30 minutes out of my way in Fayetteville, Georgia, which I had never really did anything in Fayetteville, Georgia. And so on that particular day, my now husband, he was there. There was no sparks when we saw each other, not necessarily, but I go in with my bold self. Okay. When I go in, I'm like the whole drive, which was 30 minutes out of my way, I said, God, there's a pen, there's this bank, there's that bank, there's this. I passed like 5 different banks to get to this bank right after. And so I go, Lord, I go in here and I'm impatient and I'm waiting. And the young lady that was getting ready to wait on me, I was getting ready to leave. And then this tall, fine, 6. I mean, I didn't see all that at the moment, okay, but he did feel good. That caught my attention. So he came and he told me he had an accent. I was like, okay. But anyways, he came and he told me he would wait on me because I was getting ready to leave. And so when I walked in the building, I said, well, God got a blessing with my name on it. I didn't pass all kinds of banks to get here. And so ran into some little snag, right? I was looking to get my little coupon for opening up in a new account and all this, that, and the other. And the lady was going back and forth with me. She was going back and forth with me talking about, well, you had this, you can't get this coupon because you had a charged off account like 20 years ago. I'm like, are you serious? I said, girl, Jesus paid it all. I'm God's favorite daughter. And she was like, I'm God's favorite daughter. We were going back and forth. And I said, just try again. I said, well, don't you know that God's favorite daughter, we believe in possibilities and opportunities. She went back and figured something out. But the whole time he and I were just having conversation, and it was just in my confession of my love for God and how I believe that I was God's favorite daughter. One day you got to get him on here so he can tell his side of the story. Yeah. But, so he asked me, he was like, I could see his body language changing because here I am, my little feisty self, my little bold self, but I was declaring God's goodness. And we had a little bit of dialogue about what where that check came from and so on and so forth. And, he was just very genuinely caring. And I don't know if I popped my neck or something. Somehow we got to talking about my back issues and needing to see a chiropractor. And he was like, I have a really good chiropractor. He had just moved here a couple months prior to the time we met from Minnesota. He had been in banking for a while with another bank, and he had just transferred to this particular bank. And he was like, I have a really good chiropractor. I'm like, I didn't been to 4 or 5 different chiropractors before then, and I was really having some issues. And he said, no, he's really, really good. Give me your card and I'll try to get you into his office and I'll follow up with you. So I think he did follow up with me that next day, but I got his voicemail. I couldn't understand it. The day after that, he followed up and he was like, well, this guy is really, really booked. He gave me the number anyways. I had favor, was able to get in that week. And the lady, because the guy he referred was booked, but his assistant really, really helped me out. So he followed up to see how it went and mustered up the faith to ask me to go on a date. And so I said, sure. He was like really curious about, where are you going to church at and where'd your faith come from? And, your undauntingness about God and all this, that, and the other. And so we ended up going to dinner, and that is a book in itself. Our first dinner date got totally interrupted. So we went to dinner a couple weeks later. I don't know if it was just a week later, maybe. I know it was August 1st. And we met July 22nd. So a couple weeks later, we ended up going to dinner. And got to dinner. As soon as we sat down, got interrupted by an English lady, came in. She was a little bit older. She came in and she came straight to our table. We hadn't even ordered water. I don't know if they had water at the table. I don't know. We didn't get to order anything. And she was just coming in and she was like, oh my gosh, she had a word. She was speaking in the spirit. It was just an amazing encounter that led us. We were in the city of Peachtree City, led us to leave at 9 p.m. at night on a Friday night from Peachtree City to follow this lady to a foreign church that we knew nothing about in Tucker, Georgia, which was about what, 45, 50-minute drive at night on our first date.
Wow.
That was our first date. So anyhow, that was a long night. The man that was there had a word specifically for me. And we went, it was a long drive home. We were tired. We gave ourselves a day break, had our second date on that Sunday. And then we wanted to see each other every day. Then we realized that we didn't want to not see each other no more. He is amazing though, because I had, in my business, we do a retreat every year in Florida. And so on the 24th or 25th of August, it was 24th going into the 25th. He drove down and surprised me at my retreat. He didn't know anybody, so nobody knew we were dating. I mean, we just were doing dinner every night, with each other. And so I never told anybody that I was dating. I did tell, one of my girlfriends that, hey, I'm seeing a guy. I think there's something here. But on our second date, I knew he was my husband. When he opened up his mouth to pray for me and pray for my family, I knew he was my husband, because God told me that my husband will be a priest, provider, and protector, and he had the pillars. And so there were some things at first I was like, I don't know, you know what I'm saying? Because it's so new, but my heart and my soul had never been more certain about anything in my life.
Wow.
Anything. He's the first person I ever knew without a doubt that this one I will marry if he asks me. And 33 days from the day that he met me, he drove down, surprised me, and proposed to me at my retreat. And we became, 33 days later, he proposed, and we began premarital counseling. When we got back, I think a week or two later, we began premarital counseling. And then I really didn't want to do a wedding. I just wanted to keep it very small, go ahead and get married. I'm like, I'm old. I mean, that's for the birds. I don't want to, I'm in financial services now. I'm like trying to save all the coins at this point, right? So needless to say, we dialogue. He thought that I should have a wedding. You were there. And I was like, okay, how can I make this, I don't know. But girl, it went from, I don't want a wedding, to February. The end of January, we completed our premarital counseling. In February, I think maybe in 2 or 3 weeks, he said, that's the fastest I ever did. I planned my whole wedding, had all the decor. I did everything. Everything that you saw, I did it in 30 days. I ordered everything. I kid you not.
Wow.
So what helped was we chose that Victorian building that we got married in. And because I said I want the antique feel, that regal feel. It was a beautiful location where I didn't have to do a whole lot of decor. And girl, ordered the stuff on Amazon and had my auntie and them come in a day earlier, and they booked that stuff together. And I just, we paid for the food that was there all in one. It was just God. It was just God. I still can't believe it. I'm like,
I thought what was funny, your dad started skating on the dance floor. I thought, oh, this is awesome, because I was because my ceiling fell. So I was like, oh my gosh, I don't even know if I'm gonna make it. But I was like, I'm gonna go. I don't care if I'm making late, I'm gonna go. And when I got there and I saw your dad like skating on, I thought right there. That was amazing. And just the atmosphere. And the lady, I don't know who the lady was, but when she sang, I was just like, oh my gosh. The lady,
that's my sister, Casmay. She's out of New Orleans. She is
oh my goodness.
She's a very good good friend of mine.
Wedding. Lord Jesus, I'm telling you, I was listening to her and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have never heard anybody sound so beautiful. Like just the way she was just singing and how she was interacting. I was like, oh my gosh. And the food was good, might I say, too. It was very good. So you did an excellent job. And just watching you and your husband and how you were doing your first dance, it was just extremely, my heart was just melting, because I was just like, oh my gosh, look at what God has done. He had taken you to a place to where now you are like a totally different Tiquisha. And now you have a husband, and God has really just transformed your life in such a way that when I look at you, I'm like, wow, I'm so godly proud of you. I'm in the back rooting for you. Like, yes, do it, God, do it. And
Yeah,
to see you have
I
your own
say,
house, and I'm excited. I'm waiting for babies now. I'm waiting for them babies to come.
girl, yes, honey, we working on it. But yeah, I say God knew exactly what I needed because I kind of fall into a place of complacency in life too. I got to a place in my business where I was comfortable. The hunt wasn't in me anymore. I was just like, okay, I'm covering what I need. But when I met my husband, he is just a man of such excellence and standard. It made me raise my game. Just his presence. Like he doesn't have to say a whole lot. Though he is competitive, okay? He is very he's competitive.
You can tell by his presence.
Oh,
you can
yeah.
tell by just the few times that I've seen him, he has a spirit of excellence on him.
Yeah, and he does. And so honestly, I can't take the credit. I believe that the anointing fell, the glory fell when I got into covenant relationship, and God was proud. And I believe that because of that, all the success that I'm having accelerated. I believe that. I believe that's where it stemmed from. Not that God couldn't have done it, but I do believe that the supernatural blessing came when I met my husband and he joined forces with me, and just covering me in prayer morning, noon, and night. And just his heart to want to do more and be part of it. So I'm blessed to say that on the 28th of this month, he will be full-time in partnership with me and my organization. And and then all the other things that God is going to do. Yeah.
Amazing. Wow. Look at God. I tell you. Wow. That's amazing, Tiquisha. Like, wow. So you guys are now regional your RVPs now, right?
Yep, we're vice presidents. So he's not technically full-time yet, because he's still a VP at the bank that he works. He was already a VP in banking. So yeah. Yes, I do. He's so fine. Girl, take that picture down. I be staring at my husband all day. He just be like, what are you? He's so fine to me. I'm just blessed.
Wow. Marital bliss. I'm telling you, that's amazing. But we're going to take a quick commercial break and we're going to come back. And I want you in our last segment to talk about Primerica. Talk about what you do. Talk about how you help transform people through financial education. And we're going to talk about that and get more into letting people know. For those of you that are just joining us, I have my guest here, Tiquisha Noufe. She's a transformational coach, and she's going to talk to us in the next segment about her businesses, because it is businesses now. We're going to talk about your coaching and everything else that you do. So make sure you guys stay tuned. I'm just being tongue tied. That's how you know when it's late, when you just be like, blah, 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 blah. Stay tuned. We'll be back after this. Girl, I be in the background like, woo. We are back with my special guest, Tiquisha Noufe, TQ Noufe. I have to get used to saying Noufe.
I know, doesn't it sound so royal? Noufe.
Yes, so like,
you know what I'm saying?
Like Noufe. I like it. I love it. I love it. So Tiquisha, we are open. We are in our last segment of the broadcast. And what we normally do in the last broadcast is we go over the comments that people, we have lots and lots and lots of comments of people that have responded and have been responding to us as we've been dialoguing. So Antoinette says, good evening, lady. Hello, Antoinette. How are you? I know her as Yolanda. And she says, hello. Coles Hawclaw says, hello, Nadira. Hi, Coles. How are you? And she said, yes, indeed, agreeing to some of the things that we were discussing. And yes, she says, Yolanda says, our experiences do shape us. Absolutely. Yes, and she said, you are his second favorite because I'm his first.
Girl, he's so good. Listen, he's such a good father, Antoinette, that we are all his favorite daughters because he treats us so special, right? That's the kind of God we serve. So I'm still first, okay? And you first too. How about that?
There you go. She said, that's good. Didn't know what you wanted to be, but knew what you did not want to be. Well said. Absolutely. Cole says, so true. Reason in a season. When we're talking about different people in our life for a reason or season. And she also said communication is a language. Absolutely. You don't have communication, you don't have anything. And Sharonda, hey ladies, hey BFF. And Bianca is responding. Conda. And then we have Chris. Chris said, hi Chris.
Hey,
and
Chris.
She says, and you do, Nadira, appreciate you. I appreciate you too. She says, speak, girl. Speak. That's good. Lucretia. Hello, Lucretia.
Hey, Lucretia.
Thanks for watching. Sharon says, amen.
Yes.
Says, yes. And we have Carolyn. Carolyn says, hi, ladies. Hi, Carolyn. Thank you for watching. Absolutely, BFF. Absolutely. And Lucretia says, what God does for us is unexplainable to the carnal mind, but it takes a relationship with him. And It's amazing. Lucretia just lost her son, maybe about almost a month ago. Suddenly, so that was, so she definitely understands the grieving process and actually is handling the grieving process a lot better than, I'm like, wow. But it does. It takes, when you have a relationship with God, we don't grieve as others who don't have hope.
Exactly.
So it is different. We do grieve, but just in a different process. And Yolanda says, that's awesome. Yes. Remembering the beautiful memories. Yes, BFF. Absolutely. Yeah. She said this to me right before Kim passed. She said, I don't know. I just felt the need to just tell you that we need to make sure that we're making time. And I'm thinking like, wow, when she was saying that, making memories and making time. And I remember thinking like, wow, she said that with conviction. Like, is something going to happen to somebody? Not realizing a month later that Ken passed. So yes, we have to remember and create beautiful memories. Antoinette says, yes.
Pray, go.
Oh, yes.
That's my thing.
Yes.
Good grief. It's okay to have that. Good grief. Yes,
I like that. Good grief. Grief can consume you and try to put you in a rut. Yes, it does. Yep,
if
absolutely.
You allow it, for sure. Right community. Community is so important. That is so true. Yes. I'm so blessed to have my community and I pray that for every viewer watching, that God blesses you with a safe community of people who love you and cover you and understand you without words. Understand you without words. Godly people.
That's good.
I have that and I'm blessed. And I didn't always have it. But God really uprooted me and brought me here. And it was everything. It made all of the difference. I can't imagine how I would have handled that had I not had that community.
So. Yeah. Relationships are important in God's eyes. Relationships are important. Congratulations on your marriage.
Thank
God bless
you.
Forever. Bridget says hello. Hey, Bridget. Beautiful love story. Everybody is loving the love story. Gwen, hi, man. Gwen's gonna be our guest for next for is it the following week. She's gonna be our guest. I think it's next week or the following week, and then Lucretia's gonna be our guest. One of them, they want both of them are gonna be our guests coming up in the next 2 weeks, whichever weeks I haven't
Gotcha.
really looked at the calendar. Antoinette says, "Wow, I'm from New Orleans." Yes, yes. My
Yeah, she's
husband was from
awesome.
Louisiana.
Yeah, Casmay is down there. She's really big. She's awesome.
Yes.
Hmm.
Amen. Antoinette, that's awesome. Partners in life and business.
Yes, yes. Such a
Absolutely.
blessing.
Absolutely. Okay, hold on. I'm trying to figure out where I lost. I done lost my. There's so many. Oops. I go again. Not again. Powerful segment.
Hey,
Thanks, Michelle.
Michelle. You remember Michelle Nadira?
I do. I sure do. I sure do. Thank you, Bob. I think Michelle was Michelle with you. I think Michelle was
Yep,
with you.
she was. She sure
Yep.
was. Yep.
I remember. I remember when we were at
Sam's house.
house and she was there. Yeah.
Yep.
Actually, that was the time that we spent. That was like the last time we actually were all together to that particular day at Sam's house.
Yep.
And then we got
Hey,
Tanya.
Tanya.
Hello, Tanya. Thank you for watching. And Lucretia says, "Oh my gosh, it was this December, Lucretia. I thought that was wow. That was December. That tells you time goes by. This is April already.
Yes,
Wow.
yes. This time is gone. It's halfway through the year almost.
Wow. And I'm saying a couple of weeks ago. Oh my God. It was December?
Yep.
Wow. Bridget says, yes. Thank you guys so much for your response. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Now you're talking about, we're going to get back to talking about your business. Talk to us about what you do and how you help transform other people's lives. Oh, we got another comment. Bianca says, amazing life story and love stories. So moving. God
This is
so
my dear friend and office coordinator. She's a division leader in my business. Her name is actually pronounced Bacana, but people read it fast. See, it's Bacana. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Angie Reed, Chris's friends. Chris just, I think, passed her life insurance test not too long ago, I think. So she says she's friends with Angie Reed.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, Angie Reed is I was her replacement leg in the business. So that's one of my coaches.
Absolutely. So talk to us about what you do and how you help others transform their lives.
So the biggest issue in when it comes to money and financial services, which life insurance is just a piece of that, is understanding. So what I spend my days doing is educating and empowering people about how money works. To sum it all up, that is the key, because there are so many misconceptions about life insurance, and all we focus on in majority of the minority communities is the life insurance piece, but not enough people talking about the money piece and how to have it. So there is a combination that you have to do both. And here's the thing, Nadira, all I can do is educate and empower, and I can't make people do nothing. Yeah. Right. So my goal is to continue to plant in as many seeds as possible that's going to convict people to make sure that they start the plans and do the things that they need to do. And so that's what I've been doing. I was doing that when I met you. I'm still doing it. I'm just doing it a whole lot more now. I'm licensed in more states now. We're on all coasts. I'm in Hawaii, girl. I'm in Hawaii. I'm in California. We in Texas. I got all the time zones covered. And that is just the greatest thing, that people really do not understand how money works. People don't have wills. They don't understand the importance of wills. People don't know the difference between whole life and term, and they believe one thing and they really don't know how that's working for them. And then unfortunately, our people, we wait till it's too late. We wait till you contract the illness and now you can't qualify. We don't do it in the times that we are well and we're healthy, to get things in order. And so my goal is to inspire people to start small and get something that you know that you can commit to. Because my thing is, it's not that we don't have the money, honey. Let me tell you something about our culture. I'm just talking about our culture because I am an African-American woman. We have the biggest spending in America out of all cultures. Yes. Trillion bill. We got to talk about $3 trillion spending habit. But when you look at the average net worth of the Black woman, $5. $5 net worth. That is unacceptable and it has to stop, right? And all I can do is start with one person at a time, one person that is ready for change at a time. And that's what we do. I don't sell anything, I don't solicit anything. I got to get you understanding. Because if you just go through life just buying based on price and how much you can afford, you're going to miss it. You got to understand how money works so that you can make better choices with your money now and leave a legacy instead of having your families begging on GoFundMe. That has to stop. GoFundMe is not life insurance, right? And so, yeah, you can go to my page. There's so many different things that you can learn about the concepts, the theory to decreasing responsibility. But the biggest thing that I do, which I love, is I provide a free complimentary, well, free. I don't like to use the word free because it makes it seem like it has no value. And we don't value free stuff, unfortunately. But I offer a complimentary financial need analysis that just basically shows you where you are and give you a strategy to get to where you desire to be. And it doesn't matter how old you are, you get to start somewhere. And so that's what I spend my days doing, is training leaders and also educating our community on all platforms. So that's it in a nutshell. Okay. We do everything.
Absolutely.
Anything concerning with money, we do it.
And for those of you that want to reach out to her, you can actually reach out to her on it's right here on the screen, Tiquisha Monique.com, or you can go to www.primerica.com/T Hines, which is this website here, if you want more information about Primerica, about insuring your family. Primerica is a great company. I have them, and they have been faithful with they are one of the companies that come through whenever you don't have to question, you don't have to worry. They are faithful when it comes to paying out policies. So definitely.
Yeah, Nidera, if you don't mind me mentioning, your family was my first death claim in Georgia.
Was it?
So you were my first client in Georgia that I paid a death claim on. And you know, the thing is, you guys didn't even have it that long. I think it was like 90 days.
90 days, yeah. Because
it wasn't even that long.
Off and on. And we started, and good thing we had it, because look at what happened. You never know. You never know what happens. So you're absolutely right with, you've been very instrumental in educating me and making sure, because it is something that needs to be, we need to have conversations about, because, it's not, especially in our community, it's easier to think about when the tragedy is there. But when you're not really set up with the mindset because we're talking about transformation, one of the things that we have to transform is how we view money, how we see money, so that we can look at something like our life insurance, just like we do our other bills. We have to,
but not just life insurance, your savings accounts too, your spending habits too. It's all encompassing, right? So that's really what it is. And that's what I'm focusing more on. But a lot of people don't have sufficient insurance, or they have nothing at all, or just the wrong kind, and just depending on what they have through their employer, not understanding that they don't own that through their employer, things like that. So it's just important to get a second opinion. And it's really important to just pause and plan. I got a running joke on my calls where I say, people right now today, honey, we spend billions. We spend so much money on planning baby reveal parties, then the baby is here party, the baby shower, and you leave this baby with nothing because you don't pause to plan for the financial future of the baby. You don't have any savings, emergency, long-term, none of it, right? And then so my cry to our communities, all communities really, is just know what you have. Take a moment to get your house in order, so that way you're always ready, and you don't have to worry about it when something goes wrong or you get a bad report and now you're panicking. Don't let that happen to you.
Absolutely. Any final thoughts or words or encouragement, Tiquisha, you want to give us?
Well, this was such a fun time with you. I'm super proud of what you're doing. I'll just say, look, people, whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing in your life, let's be our word, right? Let's have some integrity. Let's not just
Yeah.
get good on Instagram and Facebook, we looking good. Let's be our word. Let's have some integrity with every area of our lives. If you say that you're going to do something, give it all your effort to get that thing done, whatever it is. If it's writing the book, if it's losing the weight, if it's starting the business, if it's getting your finances in order, stop procrastinating and get your life in order. Now is, I mean, time is of the essence. We just don't know. And I believe you deserve to have some joy too.
Yeah.
Find and ask God to show you a community to plug into, because we all need some support. You know, mental illness and mental health is something that is another topic that is under talked about, and we all need help. Trauma comes in different ways. It dresses up different. You don't have to experience the loss of a loved one to experience trauma. Trauma could be, you know, a loss. Well, anytime you lose anything, job, relationships, or whatever, but trauma just comes up in so many different ways, you know. So make sure that you're not suffering in silence. You know, reach out, get some help if you need some help, and get your life in order, you guys. This is the time to do so. So I pray God blesses you with community, that's for sure. And I pray that God blesses you with all the things that you desire so that you can live your best life now, right? And that's all I
Absolutely.
have for you guys. I thank you for listening tonight. I thank you for having me on. I really appreciate this time with you tonight, Nadira.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you accept my invitation. I also want to make a couple of announcements before we leave. If you have not gotten my book talking about doing something during a pandemic, it's amazing because during the pandemic, I got an opportunity to really write my book. And so my book, make sure you get my book if you haven't done so already. What happened to me? How did I get here? You can go to bit.ly/ autographed by Nadira. You can get an autographed copy of my book where I talk about my experiences and how I overcame some of the mindsets that I went through that got me to where I am now. And most people don't really understand is that that's really the most important thing that takes place when you're transitioning or transforming. You're mostly through any circumstance, you're transforming your mind, because when you transform your mind from especially when you're in a bad situation or you're in a situation where things could be a little bit better, when you change the way you think and the way you see your circumstances, it helps getting out of it a little bit faster. I've learned that. I
Absolutely.
realized that if I kept the same mindset, it just seemed like it just got more difficult to maneuver through it. It just seemed like I made it a lot harder than it really had to be. So everything that we go through in life is really about perspective. 80% of it is perspective, and 20% is how we respond to it. So make sure you
That's
go
right.
order my book at bit.ly/ autograph by Nadira. I have started a school called BWAP. It's the Becoming a Woman of Proverbs Wisdom Academy. It's going to be starting May 2nd. I said May 1st, but I didn't realize it was on a Sunday. It's May 2nd, where if you need any help in performing or trying to transform, if you are just starting your business and you need assistance with your online presence, how to create commercials, how to start your business, make sure you go to womanofproverbscoaching.com, where I can do one-on-one done with you coaching, or I can help you with your branding, with whatever business that you already have, or if you just need personal one-on-one coaching, because sometimes we need to have a transformation in our mind in order to manifest the things that we desire, especially in the areas of our business. So make sure that you go to www.womanofproverbscoaching.com, or you can go right here to schedule a 30-minute consultation at bit.ly/life let's talk biz with two Z's / bit.ly/let's talk biz. So that's all the announcements I have today. Tiquisha, it was a blessing. I think we got some more comments over here. This happened already. She says this was great. I can relate to a lot of the topics you spoke on tonight. Bless you both. Oh, thanks,
Thank you,
Lucretia.
Lakeisha.
In Jacksonville, Florida. She's watching from Jacksonville, Florida. And Bridget said,
Okay.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you for
You're
watching.
welcome. Thank you for watching, Bridget.
We appreciate it. So that is all for today. Again, we appreciate you, Tiquisha. You got to come back and see us when you have those babies, girl. So
Girl, Okay,
reveal party.
touch and agree, because honey, I need your anointing. You know, you got a bunch of beautiful babies
Yes,
over there. Give me
yes,
the anointing.
I used to be, you know, it's crazy because it's all like Preach, Christian, Adam, and Jeremiah, they're all grown. Adam is 19, you know, and he was driving today, and I'm like, oh my God, I look at them and I'm like, they have grown. And then I start over and I'm like, Lord, you knew, because these little ones right here, these two little ones when my husband passed, they keep me on my toes. They keep me young, honey. I'm telling you, they keep me young. I'm like, Lord, you knew what you was doing, because if I would have had, because everybody's grown and gone except for Adam. He's graduating from school this year. He'll be going to Clayton State University. Woohoo!
Wow.
He's been accepted. So, which is amazing. I'm excited. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I would have done. So I'm really enjoying having the liberty to be able to work from home and be able to enjoy Bella and McKinley. I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, and it's like two girls. Like, I don't
How
think
old is Bella now? Is Bella 6? She's
Bella's
6?
7. Bella's
She's 7?
7. She's gonna be 8 in December.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Okay.
McKinley's 4. McKinley's
Wow.
4 years old. I'm like, I look at them and I'm like, oh my gosh, like they are growing up like so fast. I'm like trying to slow down, like, I mean, hold on, let me just grasp this. Especially when I see Bella texting me, Tiquisha. Oh my gosh. She be texting me. I'm like, my little baby is my little Bella, my Puka is texting me like, you bring me home this? Are you going to the store? I want pizza. I want this. Kid, what time are you coming home? What? So I'm really embracing this time that I have with them and just thanking God for being in a position to enjoy it, working full time from home, not having to get out there and hustle and bind like I used to, and being able to really just focus on helping transform other people's lives because of the transformation that God has taken me through. So I'm really in a place of gratefulness. So, you know, I don't have anything to complain about. You know, I really don't. I'm just, you know, every day I get to get up and, you know, sometimes I want to lock my door because they come busting in my room, scaring the crap out of me in the middle of the night when I'm asleep because you think it's somebody done broke in the house. I'm like, oh my gosh, but I'm enjoying this moment. I'm enjoying them and just being grateful for the opportunity to watch them grow and develop to these beautiful young ladies. And Lord, you have to pray for my hands with this hair because I'm like 47 years old, combing this hair is like an exercise. You like, oh. I get my exercise. I mean, Bella's hair is all
got so much hair. Yeah.
Oh my God, Bella's hair is all the way down her back. I'm like, oh my God, I need help with just the hair. Like McKinley, she's getting there. She's slowly getting there, but I really don't have any reason to complain. God has been good, so I'm grateful. So
good,
hold on,
good.
One more comment.
Karen, those babies are beautiful.
Yes, they are. They are amazing. I thank God for them. They keep me on my toes. I'm telling you, they keep me on my toes. So thank you guys for watching. I appreciate all your comments and interaction and engagement. I really do appreciate that. Anything else you want to say before we actually end? Your hearts and minds are clear.
Yep. Good night, everybody.
All right. Until next time, we will see you next week. Make sure you guys subscribe to my YouTube channel. Go to bit.ly/WAP YouTube, Women of Proverbs YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe tonight. Just to click over it and make sure you hit the notification bell so that you can be notified every time we upload a new video. Until next time, thank you guys for watching. Have a great day.